Good afternoon. My name is Pranil. Welcome to Orchard Park Secondary School, home of FRC Team 2056. If you have any questions throughout the rest of the day, please feel free to ask me. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Jeff Beattie, who will be presenting Parent Panel, What to Expect as Robotics Parents.
Thank you, Pranil. Okay, so I've already introduced myself to the people in the room, and for the 5,000 people that are streaming online right now, I'll do a quick intro. My name is Jeff. My daughter got involved. She started to show interest. I'll give you the full timeline. First off, I see a few different t-shirts in the room, so I know that there's some 2056 parents. If you're a 2056 parent, put up your hand. 1, 2. Okay, cool. And then 2 from different teams, which is cool. Which team?
My son was on 4039.
Okay.
Years.
Yeah.
I am also the lead mentor of 9098.
Oh, okay. All right. And I'm guessing Shot in the Dark, Pink Titans?
I'm a teacher mentor of 5712.
Nice. Okay. So the experience that I'm going to provide is based on kind of a year in the life of a 2056 parent, but there's a lot of commonalities. I mean, we're all in the same FIRST program, so you'll see that hopefully there's things that are familiar to you. Maybe there's some ideas. Maybe there's some things that you go, wow, that's really dumb that they do that. But we do it anyways. So thank you for being here. So back to the beginning. My daughter started to show interest in robotics in grade 7 in her feeder elementary school, which is down the streets, Winona Elementary. And leading up to grade 9, there was a lot of growing interest. We started going to some of the tournaments. So I kind of recognized early that we were going down this path. And myself and my wife, who's standing in the back, just fact checking me. We recognize that, okay, she's showing some interest in this. At this stage, your kids are already here. But if I was speaking to a group of parents that had kids in grade 6 or 7 that had elementary programs that were in an elementary school that was a feeder school into a robotics program in a high school, my advice would be to get them involved early, because the earlier they take that up in an elementary setting, it's just going to skyrocket them into the program. And that's kind of where I speak from experience. So the agenda. What did my kids sign me up for now? That's kind of the welcome. And we're going to break this down into what I call the 4 seasons of robotics. 4 seasons not being a hotel, but sometimes involves hotels. We don't stay at the 4 seasons. We're not that kind of team. So as I was saying, my daughter ended up grade 9 in 2056, which we do okay. We're a pretty good team. And we had no idea what to expect. We were kind of brand new into this. So this is where my talk is, to show new parents the framework and kind of some of the experiences that I went through as a first-time parent with no clue what was happening, and maybe to buffer some of the rockiness in that first year, because the first year can be a little turbulent, because your kid is going into a new program and new school, trying to find their way in and amongst an organization that already has a set rhythm, and your kid is trying to plug into that. Okay, I hit the wrong space bar on the wrong computer. I'm off to a good start. Okay, so welcome to the 2056 community. Your child has the opportunity of a lifetime, and so do you. The role of a parent is super important on this journey. Any team that you're part of, 2056, Pink Titans, anybody, being a part of the FIRST Robotics program is just going to unlock opportunities that these students don't generally have access to outside of this program. It's really, really tremendous. But at the end of the day, kind of what they put into it is what they're going to get out of it. So if you've got a student that's sitting in the back of the lab playing on their phone, well, that's going to be their experience. If they're standing next to a mentor or a senior team member or even a junior team member and asking questions or just observing and putting up their hand and saying, what can I do? They're going to have a far different experience than other team members. So the 4 seasons of robotics, what you are heading into right now, if you've got a team member that just signed up, as you may have, is the preseason, which is September to December, or what I call the season of confusion. Because as I said, you're coming into an organization that already has a rhythm and a vibe, and they already know what they're doing, and you may not automatically know what to do. And often there's not like a guide map, which is part of what I'm offering to you. Is maybe I can offer you a little bit of a guide map. So rookie team members trying to find their way is how I describe that first couple of weeks. School starts, there's a sign-up sheet, and the kids are like, oh, I want to enter into this. We've already had, I think, our first meeting. Sue, you can remind me because you've got a kid in it. My kid is long out of it. The season that we're in right now is a little bit confusing because we're not yet building a robot. We're not yet designing a robot. We're not really competing anything. And there's a lot of carryover from the previous season that we're still kind of dusting off. The only preseason event that we do, which is still technically off season, as 2056, is the Stanley Cup at St. Mary's High School in Hamilton, Westdale. This year, our team is doing something a little different with that. It's going to be an all-girls drive team, which we're pretty excited about. It's a first for us. Other teams will do other preseason, off-season events right through. I mean, from the moment we finish in April, other teams may be doing other off-season events right through until the new build season starts. Every team is going to be a little different. 2056, we do the Stanley Cup. It's a little bit crammed quarters. St. Mary's High School is a very small facility. And if you can show up, great. If you can find a seat, even better, because sometimes it's standing room only. The conference, of course, is another thing that we do every year here. Next year, when you have a full year under your belt, maybe you'll be standing up here doing the parent presentation. But we have ways that parents can get involved. And this is, I guess, where I start to talk about my experience is that the parents that are engaged and put up their hand and volunteer and show up and hand out the stuff, hand out the hamburgers in the tent or whatever that is that they're doing, there seems to be a bit of a correlation between the parents that are super involved or even moderately involved and the kids that end up having a really awesome experience and staying beyond just the term of their school career and ending up coming back as mentors. And then that whole system just carries forward. And it is like having kids come back as mentors is really an important part, I think, of the team. And I think most people agree, because the mentors are the ones who are training and offering that knowledge base to that next group of grade 9s as they're coming out. So you always want that circle to continue. So we do the conference in late September. From there, our next event is what we call Recycle Day. It's a scrap metal and electronics recycling drive that we do. It's going to be at the end of October. We do it here at the high school. I have a truck license, so I'm the guy that volunteers to rent the big cube truck that we fill with scrap metal. We take it down to a local scrap recycler, and it's a big fundraiser for us. But more importantly, it gets the kids interested, gets the kids with some hands-on experience, because they'll be in the labs actually breaking down some of the electronic components and helping to stream things into different bins so that we can get higher value for the materials that we're recycling. So if we were just to throw a computer into AIM, for example, is a company that we use, it's not worth as much as if we take the time to break down some of the components, and then we can go directly into some higher value streams, which is advantageous to us. But it's also a good team building opportunity for those team members to get to know each other, and for the parents too. So as much fun as the kids are having, the parents are out there and we're throwing things into the truck and we're unloading and we're getting to know each other too. So it's a good social component. Again, that's what our team does. Other teams are going to have different fundraising opportunities, other experiences, but it's always a great idea for the parents to look for those opportunities where you can show up, meet other parents, get a vibe for how the team gels and acts. The other fundraiser that we do in the preseason is over at Kelsey's Winona Crossing, just down the street. It's a pretty easy setup if you've got a Kelsey's in your neighborhood. A lot of them do offer these programs where they'll give you a kickback, might just be 10% or something like that of the total food bills, but it's pretty easy. Everybody's got to eat. So why not show up all together, eat as a big group, and you might get, $500-600 as a result of that. We also do a raffle at the same time. So we'll be looking for parents to come up with some raffle prizes, maybe show up and help organize the event down at the restaurant, and that kind of thing. And it, generally speaking, is a pretty good, worthwhile fundraising event for us. So at this point, you're probably wondering, what is my role in this? I've kind of given you the framework that it's supportive right now. It's encouraging because the kids are not yet building anything or designing anything. So it's also keeping them interested because they have to get all the way from now until January, which could be a big gap, and boredom sets in. And why am I still doing this? You say, you got to just keep going, just keep participating. You'll get there. It doesn't all happen at once, but participating in these preseason events and fundraisers does help to keep that interest going. Okay. And then from there, we go right to the 4th of January, which is the launch, which moves us into what I call the next season. And we do a clothing drive at launch as part of our outreach. So we'll have folks bring in used clothing, and then we make sure that it goes off to a desirable charity at the same time, kind of capitalizing on some of the existing infrastructure that we would have. We're taking the time to have a launch. We do a big kind of event of it. So why not get some benefit for the community at the same time? Okay, so how you can help. I talked through this whole slide without actually flipping to it. Show up as often as you're able, collect scrap metal and electronics, share the different events and things that we're doing on your own socials. So the team has, and all teams I'm sure have, a social media presence, but sharing that out to your individual networks actually is really, really beneficial, because you may have a neighbor or a friend that's got an old TV in their basement. You may have a coworker that's got a stack of old laptops or, a bunch of old steel pipes in their garage, and they don't know what to do with it. And as soon as you share that at work or on your social network, then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I can participate in that. Or they were going to go to Kelsey's that night. So, hey, they'll join you, and then you get 10% of their meal tag. Getting others involved is kind of in that same realm as sharing with your coworkers and your friends and your neighbors. And along the way, we always want to be thinking about, is there anyone I know that might be interested as a sponsor? Because getting sponsorship is always going to be a big part of every team's experience. We can't operate without our sponsors. So start thinking about that early. If you're in a workplace environment, or maybe you own a company or something like that, that you might be able to network or pull in some people that might be interested in supporting your team. That's something to get in on early. Okay. Build season. So all of a sudden we've gone from the season of confusion, and I say this one just goes from 0 to 60 because suddenly now we're into design and build and practice, and you go from a very loose schedule from September to December into a very, very busy schedule for your student starting in January. So our kickoff is January 4th. For those of you who don't know, and most of you do, we're part of the FIRST Robotics network, and they do their worldwide launch all at the same time. There'll be thousands of teams around the world watching the same live stream as the new game is released. And we do that over at the Stony Creek Municipal Center. We've been doing that for years. We gather, we watch, we start brainstorming. And from that moment, it becomes a very rapid pace and a lot of time involved. Almost every school day is a build day. So after school, a student could be here till 8, 9 o'clock at night, depending on how many students or depending on the type of robot that they're building. So you have to kind of keep that in the back of your head. I'm going to have to build that into my schedule, perhaps as a parent, so that I can try to support them, picking them up, maybe get a grandparent or an aunt or uncle or a neighbor, a friend to pinch hit, because the more FaceTime they have during build season, the better it is for them. And it's kind of for a couple of reasons. It's not just for the student learning about the robot itself. And I put it up here very clearly that not every kid will touch a robot, but there's so many other important components beyond just the design and build and operation of the bot that are really critical to the team. And so they have to be here to find out what those are. And they have to be here to kind of find out where their talents are going to be useful for the team. So it could be scouting, it could be working on the Impact Award, could be social media or business. We've got students that perform a variety of tasks. The Impact Award used to be called Dean's List, Chairman's, sorry, thank you. We change the names every once in a while just to throw people like me off. Impact Award is, I would say, as important as building the bot. You have just as an important role if you're part of the Impact Award. And it is essay writing and it's collating and often a lot of, now it's taken kind of a focus into digital presentations, producing videos. But it's a really great opportunity for kids who may not be a part of the design. Maybe they have more of an artistic or creative edge to them. And that's an awesome stream where they can still be super important to the team without actually touching the bot. Of course, everybody wants to touch the bot, but we always try to encourage kids to think outside of that parameter. STEM has an A. We're kind of moving and transitioning from STEM to STEAM is kind of the new moniker because we're recognizing that the arts and the creative components are just as important as the science, technology, engineering, and math. How you can help get your kid to and from school. It's pretty easy. I was talking about making sure that you build it into your schedule or have a friend or a neighbor or a family member that might be able to assist, support, and encourage as best you can. Early build season and early design season can be a little tricky for the rookie members because they're still trying to figure out what it is that they're going to do. Their role is not going to be immediately clear. They're not going to walk in on the first day of build season and automatically, I'm going to be a driver. I'm going to be a programmer. I'm going to be a designer. It's going to take trying some things and again, putting up their hand, asking some questions, sometimes getting answers they don't want to hear, sometimes getting answers they do want to hear, but they have to have that full experience in order to kind of figure it out, right? And it won't necessarily be handed to them. They're going to have to try a variety of things, and that can be frustrating, particularly for kids that are super eager and have an idea in their head that I really want to do this, and I think that this is the direction for me, and then all of a sudden it's not happening the way that they thought it would. And you've got to be, as the parents in the background, kind of going, okay, just keep trying, try something else, go in a different direction. Ask questions, ask a mentor, ask a parent, ask a senior team member, put up your hand. Just don't be the kid that's sitting in the back of the classroom playing on their phone, because eventually they aren't there because they've just lost interest because they didn't take the time to ask the questions. As parents, sign up for dinners. One of the big things that we do here at 2056 is during build season, we, as parents, typically provide a meal because they're here in the school until 8 or 9 o'clock. So we'll have a sign-up sheet, and having a variety of meals, it keeps kids interesting. So you're not always doing pizza and subs every night. One year I did shawarma. It's pretty good. We've done a couple of different things, and sometimes it could be that you as a parent, you're not gonna maybe create a big dish, but maybe you got a friend that owns a restaurant, and it's gonna be taco night one night, or it's gonna be hamburger, whatever it is. It keeps the kids engaged, keeps you engaged, and also helps to save the team money so that they don't have to purchase a meal to keep things going. And it is important that they have that meal, because they go from the moment the bell rings at 2 or 3 o'clock till 5 or 6 for dinner, and then they're going again until 8 or 9 o'clock most days. And this is a kind of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday commitment. So it's 4 out of your 7 days that they're going to be here. So there's a big ask on that. So participate in that. Did I mention sponsorship? Sponsorship. By now, we hope to have already had all our sponsors in place by the time we hit January, but the window is getting more and more narrow because we're trying to finalize our sponsor list. So while now this time of the year, September, October, it's kind of like feel around, but we do definitely want to finalize those options and get some answers, yes or no, and get that money submitted in to the team. Okay, and then all of a sudden we go from design and build to competition. This is where it all comes together, and this is typically March. Some teams go a little early. Our team is generally around the beginning of March. We do 3 competitions. Our team does 3 competitions typically, and then usually, if all goes well, we end up at Worlds. So once those competitions are released, get them into your schedules. Sometimes parents will build a weekend around it. I remember when Worlds was in Detroit, my wife and myself and our other kids, we booked the hotel, and we'd take a few days off work, and we'd go down and make a whole vacation out of it. Instead of just sending the kid, we go also, and then you build some family time around it. It's a good way to kind of get the best of both worlds. Not quite the same if you're staying in a hotel room in Mississauga, when we used to have the Ontario champs at the Hershey Center, which is now the Paramount Fine Food Center. This year, I think it's going to be in the International Center again. Not quite as glamorous to go to Malton to stay overnight as it was to go in a place like Detroit. But do what you can to be there for your kid and try to make an experience of it, and just get those kind of booked in early. We do, it's not listed here and I forgot to insert it. Not everybody's going to have a chance to go with their kid to Houston, although some do, provided that the stars align and we're there again this year. What we do for those who can't join our kids in Houston, we do a watch party. This is something that we started new a couple of years ago. So we rent a space and we put up a projector and we get the stream going and we got some popcorn and chips and yada, yada, yada. And we spend the day watching the live stream of the Worlds locally. We put on our team swag and we cheer along with them. It ended up being a pretty cool experience. Might be something to port back to some of the other teams. If your team ends up in Houston, but you can't make it, do something locally to have that same vibe and that same excitement. It ended up being really cool. So during competition season, and I've got the line here, this is where creative and logistics roles come heavily into play, particularly scouting. Scouting often gets overlooked because those are the kids that are sitting in the stands. It's such a critical. I can't underline it enough. And everybody who's like involved and scouting is so very important. But often the kids don't want to participate in it because it's not particularly glamorous at times. If there's any way when you're talking to your kid and they're so bummed out and I really wanted to be a driver, I really wanted to be an operator, I wanted to be on the drive team, I wanted to touch the robot, remind them of how important the scouting function is. That you can have the best designed robot on the field, but if you don't have the data to make good alliance choices or to direct your team on where to go and what to do, the best design really doesn't matter unless you have that technical data and all of that scouting information available at the same time. Like it's so important. So that's just a reminder. Keep it in the back of your head. If you get a deflated child one day that is like, I'm bummed out and I don't want to participate anymore. Listen, grab a sheet of paper or iPad or however they're doing it. Every team's a little different. Get into scouting because it's just so important. And also know that the mentors and the leaders within the team are always watching and they're noticing who's participating and who's not participating. And they're always observing their next, I'll say crop, for lack of a better term, of those next leaders within the team. Because the thing about any robotics team, because you're in a high school setting, it's always cyclical. You start off in grade 9 and then you're out 4 years later. And you start again in grade 9. So as team organizers, mentors, teachers, I'm sure you guys are doing this all the time. You have a great drive team for grade 12, but who's your next year's drive team? And then who's your next year's drive team? So the important thing is to keep those kids engaged because they're I don't want to say they're being watched because it sounds creepy, but they are being watched and their skill set is being observed and their enthusiasm is being observed. And so you could have a kid that may not necessarily be heading in a particular direction in grade 9 and grade 10, but the mentors may see something in them and they may steer them in a particular direction come grade 11. Then all of a sudden grade 12, they could be part of the big show. So you can remind them of that. Kids that are keen and ready to work become the future leaders. How you can help: get your kids to competitions, show up and cheer loud. Buy a t-shirt. It's the simplest thing you can do. Make sure that you have a team shirt, show up in the stands, and just spend the day. Bring friends, bring family. I can remember, just about anywhere we go, we often have other members of other, how do I phrase it? I would invite my relatives if I was going to a town where I knew I had relatives. How do I explain that any differently? I don't know. When we go to Indiana, we have friends that have friends somewhere in Indiana and they show up. When we were in Detroit, we had parents that had family members and friends from Windsor and they came over and they participated. So you can really make a big fun experience out of it because the competitions are wild and crazy and unlike anything. If you haven't been to a competition yet, the first one you go to will be a really jarring experience, but it's just so high energy and so much fun, and it's really easy to get into. And if you've got some friends in Mississauga or wherever we end up, or in Houston or in that Texas area or in Indiana, whatever, encourage them to come out. Hey, I'm going to be in town X. Come on out and see what this is all about. And you never know, sometimes that entry point for somebody else could lead to an experience that you haven't even thought about. If I get invited and I've never seen a FIRST Robotics competition and I live in town X, and I show up because Laura invited me, then and I have a really awesome experience, and I'm going to be talking about this FIRST Robotics thing, and then you never know, it just mushrooms and grows somewhere where you never expected it because that seed got planted. Did I mention sponsorship? Even in the middle of the competition season, if you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden somebody comes forward and says, hey, I'd like to get involved with this because maybe they came out because you invited them, it's never too late. It never stops. We're always looking for people to get involved. So once this all reaches its climax, the pinnacle could be DCMP, which is provincials for some teams, could go all the way to Houston for other teams, and then all of a sudden there's this crash and it's all over. Or is it? The off season, I would argue, is just as important as all the other seasons. But it's really hard to keep cohesiveness because you're coming off of this high, and then the kids are going back in to do finals and catch up on all their schoolwork and whatnot. And you've got this month and a half, May and June after they come off of the World's competition, or the end of the season, we'll call it. And then everything just kind of dissipates. So it becomes a little more challenging for team organizers, I think, to try to retain and keep that energy. One of the ways that we do it is with our year-end banquet. And we've had some really high-end banquets, and we've had some really low-end banquets, depending on how much funding we have in that particular year. But we always make it an awesome experience, regardless of whether or not it's in a fancy banquet hall or if it's in a church basement. We try to have the same kind of content, make sure that we're recognizing excellence. I don't get into that too much because as parents, we just show up to support. So if we need to help wash dishes, we help wash dishes. Organize tables, whatever we have to do. The team organization itself, the mentors, the teachers, they're generally doing all of the minutia. If you're from a team that doesn't do a year-end banquet, you probably should. I'd imagine almost everybody does. But it is a good way to punctuate the end of the season, celebrate all the awesome things that you accomplished, and really just having a team is an accomplishment in itself. Even if you don't get right to the end at the very highest level, doesn't matter because the kids no doubt had an awesome experience and they are all the better for it. We do an off-season competition in Indiana. It's my favorite. I'm not going to lie. It's really because of the corn. Indiana is the corn capital, right? Okay. Your digestive system thanks you, I think. We went to our first one in 2018-ish, probably. And then COVID obviously happened, and our kid was off the team. But as soon as it was back up, and we will actually schedule time off around IRI because we're ridiculous. But then it becomes a big parent thing. You need the keys to the truck. You could have just said that.
That's a parent thing too. I need to load the truck.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the seat. We're always moving as parents. If you have the opportunity to do off-season events, they really are cool because it's just pure competition. I feel like the pressure's off. Like it's not the same as trying to go to your districts or your provincials or worlds. Insofar as the way that our lead mentor Stan Hunter explains it, I'm bringing the robot, you bring the kids, and they're just going to do it and have fun. And so because there isn't that same, element of pressure over it, it just seems more relaxed and it seems more fun. And we as parents, we have a great time. We do a lot of bonding as parents, and that I think leads to a stronger connection for the parent organization. And there's a little aside that I didn't include in this. A few years back, the parents really decided we're going to do something different outside of the team. So the team is its own organization, and we formed the Parent Association, which is separate and remote. And we're like a fundraising arm. But we will run, like we ran the barbecue, and we'll run the Kelsey's event. And we take the pressure off the team for having to organize these things, because the parents go outside and we're going to do this on our own. We're going to do some fundraising, and then we're going to put those funds back into the team and different programming. We have our own bank account, which is handy, so we can write our own checks and we can collect things. Also remove some of the bureaucratic process from the school boards, because sometimes they have a lot of restrictions on how to, like, you can't spend money on this and you can't fundraise in this way. As a separate organization, we don't have those restrictions. So it actually helps free us up to be able to do some things. The Winona Peach Festival is a big event here. If you haven't heard of it, we get about 150,000 people come to a little community just down there called Winona. And we have a lot of organizations that support us that we then in turn support them. So we show up. I'll give an example. The Rotary Club of Stony Creek is a big supporter of ours. They're a sponsor. They give us a big check. So we make sure that we go to their booth and we volunteer to make pierogies and hand out pierogies and do all that stuff. Winona Men's Club is another one. They're a big sponsor of the team, and we basically run their corn booth. So you'll see a lineup of 2056 kids at the back of the corn booth, shucking corn and boiling and doing all the stuff. But we make sure that if you're a community-based organization that supports us, we give that back. And so it's really, really critical to try to encourage both the parents and the students to show up for these off-season events that you almost have to think of it as a fundraising event, because you're putting in the labor with a nonprofit group that you're going to receive some benefit from later on through sponsorship. And then we rinse and repeat, because right off of Peach Festival, which is at the end of the summer, we go right back into the new school year. The difference being that you're no longer the parent of a rookie kid. You're coming in now as a grade 10 kid. So you've got a full year under your belt, a little more experience, and hopefully your kid is on a good path to meander through the season and not have the same bumps and roadblocks as they may have had in the first season. They gave me 90 minutes for this, but I really didn't need 90 minutes. It means that you can wander around the school or play on your phones afterwards. But what I do now is I'll offer time and space that if you had questions or things you wanted to say or comments or anything like that, feel free. They're watching online. They don't know that there are 75 people in the room. So, we can just all clap and, be really rousing. And then I'll be like, hey, I got the biggest turnout. No, not going to happen, eh? I tried. Hey, it sounded good on the camera. Any questions before Pernille gives a closing?
Are you involved with the metal recycling and the clothes drive?
Yeah.
So Hunter basically give that job to parents. You mentioned something about giving food.
So there's some crossover pieces where the mentors organize and the parents just have to pay attention and support. Just be on the ball, sign up for the dinners, show up for the recycle drive. Recycle drive is kind of ended up being like a blend of parents and Stan. Stan happens to be a particularly strong mentor, so he's like, we're doing this, and this is the direction. Other things like the Kelsey's event, for example, and we're looking at maybe doing a trivia night in the wintertime, just before or just during build season. I don't know. We might be crazy. Some of those events are entirely parent driven. yeah, it really depends on the event. And sometimes I think that there would be a natural inclination that something could start off as a really mentor focused thing. And then it may start to move over into the parent realm as we show proficiency in being able to execute them, if that makes any sense. Well, then I guess I just had such a great presentation that nobody has any. Yeah, thank you for showing up. I do appreciate it. For now?
Yeah. Thank you for coming by.
That's it?
Yeah,
I don't get a gold star? No.
I don't think anyone really gets a gold star except me, because I always get gold stars on everything.
All right.
Yeah. That's it.